Chapter 2 – Impact Assessment along the Life Cycle. Life cycle thinking is grounded on the scientific-based method of assessing the environmental impacts, also called environmental analysis. Together with life cycle costing and social life cycle assessment, also the economic and social impacts of a product or service over its entire life cycle are assessed. The different assessment approaches can be performed for new as well as redesigned products or new or refurbished buildings. Activities in each stage require inputs and create outputs. These are measured and converted into a variety of impact categories in order to quantify the impact on water, air and land, or also food production. The most important things we need to survive on our planet. With the creation of negative environmental impacts, we bring their functioning into danger. That's why they are focused on in an LCA. The framework shows the 4 steps of an LCA. First step is the goal and scope definition. Why do we make an LCA? And for whom? Who is the target group? And what to consider and what to leave out. Also important is the question whether a benchmark is considered. Second step is the inventory analysis for the product or service system. What goes in and what goes out. Input data for the relevant material and energy flows and processes involved are needed here. Third step is the impact assessment, where the inputs and outputs of elementary flows are translated into potential environmental impacts related to human health, natural environment and resource depletion. In the last step, the interpretation of the results should generate a set of conclusions and recommendations for the improvement. The results are used for planning and design decisions, to know what impacts to anticipate and what to consider for the design of the product or service, or for the redesign of products, to better understand and see what to change. A functional unit is a quantifiable reference unit for the product or service function, like the packaging of 1000 liters of a liquid or the transport of 5 persons for 20 kilometers. The functional unit makes the results of an LCA easier to compare and is thus very important. The results of the assessment can be used to compare different options and make fact-based decisions on what to select and improve. Understanding, quantifying and communicating the impacts present a necessity to reduce negative impacts and, even better, shift towards more positive impacts within a circular economy. But what to consider when comparing LCA results? The purpose of the LCA should be clear. Why is it performed? To whom and how should the results be communicated? Are the results third-party verified and checked for completeness and relevancy? Are the assumptions, methods and data consistent? Has a critical review of the study been carried out? Which life cycle phases are covered? What exactly is looked at? And what is the reference unit? The functional unit must be precise and clear. The origin of data should be quality assured. Where do data come from? Real data, if available, and most recent data are best. An environmental profile is the result of an LCA and presents the basis for improvement measures. The results can be communicated via an Environmental Product Declaration, in short EPD. The fact that an LCA was made for a product does not say itself that this is positive, but it gives support on what to improve. The same applies for an EPD. An EPD for a product does not say that the product is better than comparable products. EPD are no environmental labels, but there is an environmental profile based on impact assessment, and this makes comparison easier. EPD are widely used in B2B communication. One must be careful when comparing different results, because the assessment criteria may not be the same, and this makes results difficult to compare. Results are comparable if products or systems have the same functional unit, accomplish the same function, have equivalent system boundaries, and use the same or equivalent impact assessment methods. Let's do an assignment. Search for EPD for two similar products and compare them. EPD are easy to find as they are published as B2B communication and companies usually do not hide them. State the important technical information given in the EPDs and think about the difference. What can you take from the scope and results? The next method to be introduced is lifecycle costing. Lifecycle costing is an assessment technique for calculating the directly related costs along the entire lifespan of a product or activity. The main benefit is gaining an overview on the expected costs in the different steps in the value chain. For long-life products, the main challenge is the prediction of the development of influencing factors and the consequential costs. Costs can be split up into two categories: initial and following costs. Initial costs are related to design and survey works, capital investment costs for land acquisition, construction costs, costs related to machines, equipment, and inventory for operating a facility. Following costs are related to the future operational costs for cleaning, the technical operation, supply, disposal, repair or restoration, or use-specific following costs like services. Lifecycle costing is gaining importance in the construction sector, where the costs of two or more options are calculated and compared to determine which is the most economical building or facility over the entire lifespan. Let's do an estimation on the share of the initial and following costs of a building. Guess the percentage distribution of initial and following costs. Is it more 20 to 80 or 90 to 10? Make your choice and the correct answer will appear on the next slide. You might be surprised. The third assessment method to be introduced is social lifecycle assessment, which is applicable when one wants to understand the social impacts related to a good or a service. When using social LCA, the focus should lie on the improvement potential and highlight lifecycle stages where improvements are most crucial. Social LCA, just as the environmental LCA, is useful in highlighting trade-offs between different alternatives. One alternative may not be simply better than the other, but it gives an understanding on under what circumstances one of the alternatives is preferable. A social and socio-economic life cycle assessment intends to add critical indicators of human well-being that are influenced by processes or companies in the supply chains, such as workers' rights, community development, consumer protection, and societal benefits. The objective is the improvement of the overall socio-economic performance of a product for all its stakeholders, meaning the individuals affected. Compared to environmental issues, many social issues are difficult to quantify. In social LCA, indicators are based on qualitative, semi-quantitative and quantitative data. The Social Hotspots database gives information on the indicators and support for their measurement. There are 5 thematic areas for sector and country-specific indicators. Labor rights and decent work, with indicators for instance for child or forced labor. Health and safety, with indicators for like injuries or the exposition to hazardous substances. Human rights, with indicators for e.g. gender equity or conflicts. Governance, with indicators for the legal system and corruption. And community infrastructure, with indicators for the access to hospital beds, drinking water and sanitation quality. Let's reflect on what stages of the life cycle have the greatest risk potential to workers. Describe a specific example and explain your decision. Please select a product or think of an own example. The results of the sustainability assessment can be used to compare different products and determine the environmental, economic, and social impacts or benefits of certain options. Negative impact is often transferred to other stages or actors in the value chain if assessment is missing and assumptions are made. It's not so easy to identify improvement measures without an assessment, as products and systems are complex. Lifecycle thinking leads to the bigger picture and supports you in making the right decisions for improvement. For further information and complete references, please consult the full text of the module.